necessarily ever going to be complete in the sense that you're going to keep on having to evolve it, then I guess things like the trends like COVID, those always impact on your customer base. Are you constantly going out there talking to your customers, asking their where their priorities are now? Is that fundamental to the way your success?
Very much so. I mean, COVID, I think, to be fair, in financial management, along with a lot of other areas, it's accelerated things, because the problems that COVID has highlighted weren't new problems. They were problems that were always there in existence, but it's really shone a spotlight on those problems. So in our space, what COVID has done was, it wasn't, I'm exaggerating a little bit here, but there was a potential for you create a budget plan, and that sits on a shelf and gathers dust for the year, and then you come to the next cycle and you do another budget plan. I mean, it was never quite that clean, but there was less that change happens throughout the year than in the last 12 months. I mean, that's fairly safe to say. So COVID, for us, for the customers, has shone a spotlight on how agile their financial processes were. So how were they able to actually react to significant things happening? And that's been quite probably helpful for us, because financial agility is something that we really solve, and we help take a lot of the man hours and the legwork out of that financial management process. So that's, I think, been a good thing for the sector, because people have had to find a way. And in terms of talking to customers, we can never do too much talking to customers, and I still meet with customers every day, every single day. We're talking to customers. One thing we've added this year, just before Christmas, we've embedded what we've called IMP Voice into our software, which is ultimately a customer roadmap tool. So customers can make suggestions, and they can also vote on other people's suggestions. And that, for us, has been really good, because we had quite good dialogue with our customers in terms of the CFOs and the heads of finance, and those were our kind of defined customers, but actually they weren't the bulk of our users. The bulk of the users are finance officers or business managers or people within the schools, and we probably had less interaction with that group who are in the system all day, every day. So actually putting in IMP Voice has been a really, really refreshing set of ideas that we've been coming up against, that stuff we'd not even thought of, but it was so, you look at it and you think, how did we not think of that? It's so obvious that is a thing that someone puts it on there, and 2 days later you've got 25 votes or 10 votes. You think, okay, that it helps us get an extra perspective, and also helps us with prioritization, because there's 1,000,001 things we want to do, but knowing what we want to do now is always a challenge. But that's been a really helpful part of both giving us ideas, but also helping us have that sense of feeling within the user base around which are the important ideas, not necessarily the idea from the person who shouts the loudest, which is always a challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I can definitely resonate. That resonates with me. The person who shouts the loudest sometimes always gets ahead of the queue, as it were. Is IMP Voice part of the actual product itself?
Yeah, so we've cheated a little bit. So we've used a product called Canny, and Canny is kind of a product board, I think, ultimately, but we've embedded that within the application. So there's a light bulb icon within the software, which for us signifies ideas. It was between a light bulb or a question mark or a speech bubble, and you wouldn't believe the wrangling internally around deciding on which one. But yeah, we've embedded that functionality within the software, so all users have access to it. And also, when they comment, make a suggestion or vote, they also then get notified on when we change the status of that from kind of under review to in progress, or accepted to in progress to completed. So they get the full kind of narrative on how that's filtering through. And we only launched it before Christmas, and we've probably put 20 changes through purely from that. And that, there's one thing to say you listen to your customers, but when they can actually see it and they've had their suggestion delivered into the software the first one was in a case of kind of 4 or 5 weeks, that really helped. And then it's self-fulfilling, because more people make suggestions, they vote on more other people, and that is just fantastic.
I think that is absolutely amazing. So one, transparency. So I think lots of people have change request sort of processes, but they normally go into a bit of a black hole, and the customer's sort of going, is there any point me asking? Because ultimately, I can't really see progress. I think the idea that you show progress, I think, is brilliant. I think that's fantastic. But even better, the fact that you can show that you're listening and you're acting in a sort of agile way regarding speccing and requirements gathering, I think is really, really strong. It shows, I think it's like anything to do with the experience of a customer. You have to think about any barrier to their breaking down their experience. So how can you make their experience the best possible? And that sort of type of idea, I think, really works well. I think that's a great piece.
And it's also helped us as well, because there's been some suggestions that are really tricky for whatever reason. We can't do it, or it's really tricky. But because we've got brownie points, because we have been transparent and we have put the majority of the stuff through, it's actually okay to say, we really can't do that. Like, I get the problem, I get the pain, but that is really difficult or impossible because of X, Y, and Z. And it can, you know, it can be difficult making those kind of decisions, but you know, on balance, it's the right thing to do, rather than saying, yeah, you know, we'll do that in 6 months' time. But you think, well, no, we can't do that. It's just a really nice way to do it. And it's just helping us prioritize, communicate, and just show customers that we do care and we are listening.
Yeah, absolutely. It again, going back to that transparency piece that you just sort of mentioned, the reason why it goes into black holes is because people are scared of saying no to somebody. When actually, if you actually went to a customer and said, look, I'm really sorry, but this is going to take ages. This is a really big piece of work. You may not understand the size of the work. The fact is, they're just a thank you for that. You know, customers, you know, don't just expect the world. I think they all they want is for you to listen and to acknowledge that they've got, you know, great ideas as well.
Yeah,
so
yeah, very much so. And we, you know, it's not the only part of our roadmap. You know, there's other things that we have to do. You know, there's development things, there's technical things, there's statutory things, there's boring stuff that goes in there. But it's part of the mix, and our priority now is actually getting that balance right between the different buckets of what we need to do, and also let's do a bug busting one, let's do a customer focused one. We can actually, you know, change that balance through the sprint cycles that we're doing.